Well, this is going to be a really fun episode because I'm going to do a makeover. This is an area that if you have followed me for a while, you know I refer to it as the fish pond. Not because I have fish or not because I have a pond, but because of this rickety, rackety brickwork that edges this bed underneath a redbud tree. And I call it the fish pond because I got this idea from Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home, because this area is about the size of the fish pond that he had at Monticello, where he would raise fish for his dinner table, and it was surrounded by this rickety rack brick. So that's my homage to TJ. My son went to UVA, so it just makes me happy to think about it that way. It's called the fish pond, and on the graphic and illustrations of my garden we call it the fish pond. But the fish pond has gotten a little bit overgrown, and most of this overgrown stuff is all columbine. It's mostly purple columbine that went to seed. It was beautiful when it was in bloom, but now it's gotten a little bit overgrown. Some of it, let me show an example here if I can. It's just starting to get, in each season there are subseasons. Like right now the subseason is the rudbeckia is in bloom. I think of that as the subseason of this part of summer. What also is in bloom is spider mite, and you can see that this columbine leaf is starting to show signs of spider mite with that telltale stippling on top. I'm not happy, but I'm not too concerned because I get it every single year. It's just starting, a little bit late actually, but before it comes into full bloom and spreads in this entire area, I'm going to try to do what I can in terms of prevention and mitigation measures to keep it from spreading more, not only from this area, but onto other plants. And in the process, I want to tidy this up. So this is what it looks like before, and of course we will show you the after. So all I'm doing is coming in here and I'm just cutting back these tufts of columbine. So you can see here that there's new growth at this point right here, and I'm just taking it by the handful and I'm clipping it off there. You can see I already did that one, and as I do it, big tufts and small tufts, I clean up the surrounding area because I don't want to leave any of that foliage that has spider mite on it. Now, what I sometimes do is then I'll just leave the seed heads here, because what they will do is go to seed again. And Stuart, if you can show back here, because we've had so much rain, there's already some seedlings that are starting to erupt that will bloom next year. And this reliably comes back in this space. I don't have any problem in getting my columbine to come back, unlike some other self-seeders like foxglove, though foxglove this year is going crazy too. So I'm basically going to do that to this entire area. I'm just going to take these clumps, and this is what I'm going to call my first episode of Work Along with Me. As I do things in the garden, then you can keep me company as I'm describing what I'm doing so that we can learn together. While I'm here, you guys will be happy to note that I have on my garden gloves, and I also have on a hat. Now, yesterday I had micro needling done. I'm trying to get all purdied up before the wedding, so I had micro needling done. I'm going to put a link below. Stuart and I actually did a very long video about the process. I think it's it produces great results in kind of a natural way. I really like it, and I have it done regularly, but I'll put a link to that below. But what it does, I'm very pink, but I have about 10 inches of sunscreen on. I've got a hat to protect my skin, and I'm just going to be very cautious about my skin today because it makes it uber sun sensitive. But I digress. So back to what we're doing here. And by the way, I am so grateful that I get to work in the garden today. I don't say I have to work in the garden anymore. That makes a gift sound like a burden. I get to work in the garden today because I've been so busy that I haven't really had the luxury to be able to tackle some of these jobs, and it just makes me very, very happy. So what I'm going to do after I cut all of this back, I'm going to put back in place some bulbs that have been excavated by squirrels. This, I don't know if we can find a still or not, but this is what I call my minor bulb bed, because in the spring, this is where, if I have forced, that one may not be viable, but if I have forced hyacinths that I buy at Trader Joe's or my florist or whatever, or I have tete-a-tete daffodils, I have any kinds of minor bulbs, and by minor bulbs I mean the smaller ones and not tulips, then I will plant them in this bed, and in the spring they come up and typically do very well. Some of them don't come back, but again, there's no love lost, because otherwise they would just end up in the compost pile. So if they come back, that's great. Now here I've got some tufts of Mondo Grass. I'm not really sure how those got there, but I'm being very opportunistic because I saw them. And you can see where I've already started to dig them up. And it's kind of, I have to be careful because I'm digging around the roots of this tree. But what I'm going to do, you'll notice how very gravelly and friable this soil is. So these tufts of Mondo Grass, I'm going to take and I'm going to put them in the back where I removed that boxwood in the potager. I'm stealing from Peter to pay Paul. And I'm going to transplant those to the back. So as long as I'm in the area, I'm going to take care of that, and then I'm going to clip the rest of this back. The other thing that I'm going to do, this is one of these transplanted boxwoods that I moved from the potager when I removed those boxwood balls on the ends. So I'm going to prune this back and tidy it up a little bit. I'm going to remove some of this foliage from this Little Henry Sweet Spire, so that I can access it a little bit better. I'm not doing a ton of pruning on it, and I can do it this time of year, but that way it will uncover this boxwood so that it gets a little bit more air circulation. I'll make sure to water this real well. The other thing I'm going to do once I get finished is I'm going to top dress this with a layer of fresh gravel after I get everything cleaned up. What I'm going to do, and I'm going to speed this up so you guys don't get too hot working out in the garden with me, but I am going to get my blower, and you'll notice, slow it down if you want to see the technique. With my blower, I just skim the surface, and what that does is remove the foliage, the dried leaves, the dried redbud seed heads on the surface. By just skimming the surface, it removes those light things, and it pretty much keeps most of the gravel in place. So if you want to see the exact technique and how it works, make sure to slow down the video. So Stuart, what do you say? Let's get to work. Well, I'm tired, but that only took maybe 30 minutes in speed up time. It took less than that. But I feel so accomplished. I got so much done. Now, I think you have to admit that the after looks a lot better. I hope you were still able to see a couple of things. How the blower just blew off what was on the surface, what was lighter than the gravel. The tremendous difference that putting down a fresh layer of gravel made just by getting my little box truck or dolly or whatever you call this. This is absolutely indispensable to me in the garden. I'll put a link below. By the way, all the links below to these products, if you just keep scrolling down, you'll probably find the product that you're looking for. We keep them up there permanently. But I think it looks so much better. Now, what I also like about it is, in addition to the fact that I have cleared away all of those spider mite columbine tufts, but I have also removed any of the debris that might also have spider mite on them. But it's now really motivated me to tackle what has been very much in need of attention, and that is my boxwood theater over here. So I now have the opportunity to tackle it and tackle this big pot, and I just really feel like I've gotten a lot done. So I hope that you guys feel like that was a makeover worth your time and your trouble. So you guys have a great weekend, and I'm off to another project. Well, here's my fashion epilogue for today. If you're not interested, please make sure to turn it off now. So this is kind of a special fashion epilogue for a couple of different reasons. But first, I talked about it earlier in the video. I had microdermabrasion yesterday. So my face is really, really pink, and it's extremely sun sensitive. So I've got about 6 inches of sunscreen on, and I've got to wear a hat. Now, Stuart said I had kind of a safari look going here. So this is just a sun hat that I got off of Amazon. I'll put a link to one that's similar below. My earrings were a gift to me from my son and daughter-in-law to be. I can't wait till I can say just daughter-in-law. I think these are Kendra Scott. They got me these for Christmas a number of years ago. My top is thrifted J. Crew. I love it. I love it because it's denim, but it's lightweight, so it's not too heavy. You know, sometimes denim is a little too thick and it's hard to work with. Now, here is a tip that I want to point out to you that I learned from actually going on lots of rafting and canoe trips. When my boys were young, Hubs and I would take our kids rafting down the Colorado River. I mean, all sorts of rafting and canoeing trips. And one thing I learned from the guides and the boatmen was they would always have on kind of long, light sleeve shirts. But what I really noticed about them is to protect their upper arms from too much sun, but also to remain cool, they would just have cotton long sleeve shirts on like this. They would leave them unbuttoned so that there was nice air circulation, but it would protect their upper arms from too much sun. And then they would periodically get their shirt sleeves wet to cool them. So it was just a really great a great coping mechanism, I think. And I'm starting to really notice how weather worn and aged my upper arms are getting. So this is a perfect situation for me. Now I've got lots of sunscreen on, and I don't want to cut these off as I do clipping, so I'm going to roll them up. But that is a tip for you guys if you too want to protect your upper arms. Now, Stuart was telling me he loved my breeches. He would love to be able to get this kind of safari look where you wear white linen pants. Now, these have a real special meaning to me, and this falls into the category of what I call, I'm going to start doing a lot about this topic, called romancing the ordinary. So these are special to me on so many levels, but here is kind of a why not try thing that I would recommend. These actually belong to my son Johnny, who lives in Singapore. He lived in India for years, and he has all sorts of things in his wardrobe, including these pants that were made in India, lots of loose tops that he got while he lived there, and a lot of them he has left at home. Now, A lot of you probably have daughters and you can share clothes with your daughters. I have sons and I can share clothes with my sons. My son Johnny is built like me. He's got really broad shoulders and he's really thin-hipped, probably more thinner-hipped than I am. And so because of that, I can wear lots of his clothes. I can wear lots of his bottoms, his jeans, and a lot of times I will wear his tops. So that does a couple of things. I was cleaning out his old bedroom and I had a whole basket filled with some of his clothes. These were in there kind of wadded up at the bottom and I thought, oh, I bet you I can wear those. So I took them to the cleaners, I had them pressed, and lo and behold, they look great. They're not too precious that I can't work out in the yard in them, but I love the way they look, but also I love the fact that they remind me of Johnny every time I wear them. I have done that before with lots of his flannel shirts and things that I wear in the winter time because they make me feel cozy and miss him less. But it's just a really fun thing to do, and it's also a fun way to reuse, recycle, repurpose. These, I don't know that these are clothes that he would wear again. I would have trouble getting them to him anyway. He's in Singapore. So rather than tossing them in Goodwill, I am wearing them, and it really is a wonderful way to take something that's scrunched up at the bottom of a basket and romance the ordinary. My goodness, but the birds are being loud today. Bird activity has been incredible. So there you go. My shoes, I love these kind of Birkenstocky shoes. These are so old. These are Madden Girl, and I have all sorts of different pairs of similar type of form, foot form sandals. They are great for working out in the yard because they're basically just kind of rubber and you can get them wet. I got these at Ross a number of years ago. Where I can, I will put links below. Thanks, guys.